All right. Welcome to the Calling All Heroes Comics podcast. And today there are 6 of us thus far that I am aware of, unless somebody's hiding. I'm George, and I am joined today by Gary.
Hey.
Tim.
Hi.
Donnie.
Hey.
Walls.
Hey.
And making his debut, our good buddy Chris is here.
Hello.
All right. I don't know why that was funny.
Yeah, that's it.
And now we're all here. So, yesterday I went through almost 3,000 comic books and came up with about 200. Sound about right? Comic books. What did you guys see that you liked? What do you think? Good haul?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Anything that you saw that you
Little taste of
you
the
needed
90s.
or
Yes, little taste of the 90s.
yeah, it felt a lot like the collection started in the 90s. Anything prior to that was like a back issue pull here and
I
there.
guess the thing I'm impressed with, even though not all of them are bagged and back, they are in nice shape, though. Even the ones
Yeah.
that are...
Yeah.
It's always nice when comics were cared about by someone.
Yeah, definitely can see that.
Like some of them are like unread quality, I mean, just somebody grabbed it.
Yeah.
Because I found a couple that were the same together.
Yeah.
And they just looked like they were pulled off a shelf.
Like what you were saying, Chris, about those cardboard covers. I mean,
Yeah, they're nice to keep the comic. You know, it's a nice little thing there, but you open it up.
yeah, trying to read it.
Yeah, it's because I'm trying to read it out of there. Yeah. What you saying? Okay. just make up my own way, you know. Yeah,
The story's great.
yeah. That whole panel was gone. He wouldn't have had a hot dog in there. He seemed hungry in the panel previously.
Oh, well.
Wow.
Okay, you guys don't know, but we had to pause it here, and Tim was wanting to talk about the Care Bear comics, so why don't you...
Oh, yeah. I mean, you did want to know what we thought of those books. Like I said, it's a little taste of the 90s. And, Care Bear #1, I mean, I think I might have to have it.
I got it because I had Transformers, Master Universe, Cartoon Network, Thundercats, Voltron, a G.I. Joe, all the way down the line, and surprisingly...
That was the missing link.
It's one of them, and it sells. People come in and like, oh, that's cool, and I find a lot of times those books sell to people that don't necessarily buy comic books. It's the mom that comes in with her kids, and their kids are buying stuff, and she's never been here, and she's like, oh, I remember that, and then she'll pick it up.
Can I give a shameless plug for something?
Please.
We always sort of these conversations head towards music a lot here.
Yeah.
It's National Record Store Day.
Oh,
There's
really?
a cool event at Niners at 5 o'clock. Some guys are setting up with vinyl. They're going to play vinyl.
Oh, that's cool.
And Dogfish had, I guess, beer, like a sort of a conjunction with that National Record Store Day. So it's a pretty cool thing that's going on.
That is cool.
Yeah. Neat.
5 o'clock at Niners in
Niners.
Cumberland.
And not to plug what most people consider the National Day was yesterday, but you'd have thought maybe they'd have put National Record Store Day on the same day of the...
Oh, it's almost like a double
Exactly,
holiday. Right?
yeah.
It's like Thanksgiving. It's like Thursday, Friday, Thanksgiving to me, man. I mean,
420.
Start the weekend out right.
exactly.
What was
Yeah,
yesterday?
listen to some tunes.
I was going to point it out. I'm sitting here looking at Garrett. He's got this look like,
420?
what?
Oh, yeah, they always, at work, they always say something about it. Kramer knows what it is. I'm like,
You work in a
I don't
prison.
know.
You were in a band and you work in a prison and you don't know what 420 is?
I seriously.
Old man Kramer's like, what?
What a front, you know? What a,
Oh, you bought it?
Yeah, it holds up well.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Even I know what that
I don't
means.
smoke anything.
well, none of us do, of course.
Action 1000 came out. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
That a comic book has hit 1000.
It's a pretty good read, too. Had a lot of good stories.
Was it? I didn't get to read it. I mean, I'm kind of happy of the reason. I sold out.
They're gone.
Yeah. There was
That
11 covers.
999 other issues that I don't have.
Yeah, we sold out of that book. I had between 3 and 6 copies of all of them, and there was 10 of them altogether. So, I mean, for this little area, that's a lot, especially because the cover price was $7.99, and it's hard to roll the dice financially on a ton
But
of those.
it's a lot for the money.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's what, 8-10 stories in there?
Yeah.
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 Something like that.
And it was cool how they did each decade had a different artist. I, of course, got the
That's a great idea.
Rude the Dude, Steve Dude, Rude cover. Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really stepped up for it. It's nice looking.
Yeah. I thought it
Not
was
being
different.
a Superman guy, though, I looked at all when the covers when they were here, when they weren't sold out across the shelf there. They were really cool looking. They were. That was very well done.
I wasn't a big fan of the one with the little mini aliens on it. I thought that looked kind of I don't know, kind of goofy. I think it was the 70s
I
cover.
was gonna say, oh,
Might
okay.
be.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
I don't think I've seen them
Yeah.
all, but
Yeah.
you can check them all online.
I even saw some cool like the store variant ones.
Yeah.
Were, some like the one he's like sitting in the Fortress of Solitude, kind of in like a
Yeah.
nice chair or something that looked. I was like,
Like he's
that's
like
pretty.
chilling, like
Yeah,
Mickey
almost.
Smalls or something.
Yeah, like he just got done, like ruling. Yeah.
He got done rolling. Yeah, it's a family show, so we'll just leave it at that. He was rolling. He just finished and had a look of accomplishment and happiness. Content.
Well, now that they hit issue 100, now I can't wait for them to restart the numbering again.
Oh, yeah. Well, it seems like I think they bounced off of that and then came back just in time. Like,
Yeah.
oh, man, hey, it's going to be... Hey, we're at 984. We need to
Yeah.
plan this cash grab ahead.
So Marvel's going to double number stuff. Is that correct? That I understand.
I think that's what I read online.
Yeah.
I think I saw that too. Yeah, have the dual numbering going. Yeah,
I knew it was coming. I was just trying to ignore it like it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen.
and now
The ostrich syndrome. We don't say
Well,
it
that's
isn't
goofy
there.
because they
At least
start.
the Amazing was going to hit 800 before
Well, they
do
start books over at number one, so they'll sell. Correct.
Right.
So it's
I
a
mean,
good starting.
that's what I'm
so,
assuming.
But
so it's
then
like
they got-
Daddy, why does this have two numbers on it?
but then
Yeah,
they got to
maybe.
go back to the old ones, so when they hit the hundreds or whatever, they can sell them. You
Yeah, the
know, and
round
at the
off.
same time. Yeah,
Well, all those idiots just sit around the office and added all the stuff together to figure out where the titles were anyway.
It's really
I'm
starting
like,
to
I
take
mean,
a dark turn.
Well, they did.
All those idiots sit there.
I was into it. Somebody had to research all that, and they put all the
I just don't know.
miniseries and shit together, and they had a number. And I thought, well, here you go.
I don't know if
So
it's
what are they
so
gonna
accurate
do?
to refer to them as idiot. All these bean counting morons.
yeah.
I'm talking about whoever makes executive decisions at Marvel Comics, or
Sure.
whoever does research at Marvel Comics, because I think that probably did take a while to get all that together.
Yeah.
To piece all, like, well, for instance, putting Venom at, whatever, 150.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to go through and look at all the miniseries and all the regular series, put them all together and say, okay, this is what constitutes 150, which I thought, that's pretty cool. I enjoyed that. Actually, it was cool because in 150, they put all the back issue covers on there and they give you could see it. And it was neat, and it was a cool little add-on. And they did, they explained it with a lot of the other titles. I'm like, this is really cool. Like piecing all the ones to get
Yeah, that
Doctor
is neat.
Strange a number. Spider-Man's going to be on 800. I mean, it's like, I thought to myself, this is cool. They're back on what I would call track.
Yeah.
So let's just throw that right out the window and do something new.
I saw a thing. Just speaking of Venom, I saw a thing where they were talking about how artists really enjoy drawing Venom because when you got Spider-Man, there's a certain expectation. Like it's going to be Spider-Man. Everybody has their own take.
There's a formula.
Yeah, there has to be, and same with Batman. I mean, you can be Kelly Jones, or and go all the way to the opposite direction of that, and have him look more like that '60s Batman. on the
Still
show.
got a
Jim
cake with
Aparo.
ears.
He's still got that look. Whereas with Venom, just the nature of Venom, everybody can really just go in whatever direction they
All over the
want.
place.
He's very fluid.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, his shape, it's not, there's not a consistent look to it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a little bit of a variation. Which
Well, also,
is,
there's depending on who is Venom, you can change it up too.
Yeah.
Like the Matt Gargan Venom looks different than Eddie Brock, and he looks different from the Lee Price Venom. So
Yeah. I wanted to ask you guys because I think all of you are reading. Are all you guys reading White Knight? Everybody?
Yeah.
no.
I stopped.
You stopped?
I looked at it. I liked it.
Are you guys digging it so far? I mean, is it?
I haven't read that issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I think I saw somewhere that is that Sean
Murphy.
Yeah, he's open to probably at least doing a number 2, so type of thing. So yeah, it could be some more coming down the line. I have seen that. I don't know exactly when, how soon he plans on getting on that, but yeah, I don't necessarily like already having the sequel in. It was like, okay, well we know he doesn't die now, I guess, or something.
Who knows how many more adventures there'll be in between now and the time the comic becomes unprofitable?
So there's that.
This is the last show.
Yeah, I'm with Kramer on that series. And, you can beat to death so many different storylines and reinvent everything, but you have all this history with Batman and Superman and all that stuff.
Mhm.
You don't have to have a new number one every day. Just tell a different story. Tell
Yeah.
something neat.
Well, you guys are. I'm not reading it, but you're excited about the new Red Goblin.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And there again,
Good
coming up on
storyline.
800. There again, we're coming up on a milestone. I don't know how all these milestones hit within the past 2 or 3 months. It's been like 5 or 6 major books hitting 600,000-800,000.
Thor.
The planets just
Thor.
aligned right.
Yeah, Daredevil. Spider-Man action. But yeah, You just write a good story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, out of the blue comes the Red Goblin. You guys didn't know it was coming.
No.
You know, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, that's pretty cool. And then it takes a life of its own. There again, we're sitting there looking at Daredevil, and Frank Miller took it over. You know, he wasn't even, I don't think he was writing it at 58, was he? He was doing the art. Isn't that correct?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah. And I think eventually he took the book over, and it just became something out of nowhere, which is cool. It wasn't a renumber, and it wasn't a big event. They just sort of, hey, let's try this. Let's put in a good story somewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try something new.
Yeah.
Let's don't renumber it, double number it, whatever. You know, special cover. Let's just write a good story and let it take off. And that's what the Red Goblin.
I think
has
it's a
done.
cool little story. I'm not going to.
Yeah. I haven't. Like I said, I haven't read it.
Installment.
Not yet, but-
It's pretty cool. I mean, it's got a nice little twist. It's got a nice little development. Nice little
But
twist.
you don't have to have someone's going to die.
Right.
You know, someone's coming back from the dead or something like that.
Right.
It doesn't have to be some big event. They just quietly put it in there, and all of a sudden people are catching on.
Yeah.
You know, it's the Thanos. It's the cosmic, Ghost Rider.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they found out that was Frank Castle, it's like they just put it in there. It's like, wow, that's really cool. But it wasn't a big event. It wasn't on the cover of previews. It wasn't a big poster or something. Here comes the new cosmic Ghost Rider. You know.
When you said that Frank Castle Ghost, I like it. It's got like some comedy to it, man.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just like
Yeah,
that's why I
he's a
started
total
laughing.
opposite of
Yeah,
Frank.
he's
'Cause
just like
he's a
a joke of himself.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, what I thought was really cool when they did the Frankencastle thing. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The art and the storyline of that was really cool.
Yeah. I don't need to tell me if it wasn't you that was telling me this, but would you tell me Dark Knight? It wasn't that good.
What the
Vacuous
Dark
stare
Knight?
going on.
It wasn't that good. The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't want to put words in your mouth, I guess, but I feel like we were having a conversation about that.
Well, I was talking about as far as the artwork goes, I'm not a fan of that artwork at
Yeah.
all. It almost looks like it was not finished, like it was a rough draft, and it was just kind of turned in like, here you go.
Well, I started going back because I have the trade paperback at the house, and I started rereading it, and I'm kind of like, this is not holding up.
Yeah.
I think people, kind of like Star Wars, it's like people have ripped it off so much that then you go back to the original thing, and it's almost like, okay.
I don't know how you could even follow up to that. I thought the original story was great. I
don't
even know why you would even. I
don't mean specific follow-ups. I mean other artists and other stories and other characters. There's the elements of how that story is put together and constructed. That has been refined and made so slick, and so they've done it so many times that I went back and I was like, man, this doesn't hold up for me at all.
That's on a more recent memory. Is I saw Black Panther, as you guys know, and I saw Wonder Woman, and I thought they were both really good films, but they weren't life changing,
right?
In no way, shape, or form. And then again, we talk about the Dark Knight Returns, the original 4-issue series. Yeah. That was, and you have to be there in the moment to sit there when that came out.
Right,
like,
sure.
It's all relative.
Chris just referred to that bookshelf, format, which is where it comes from. Mm-hmm. That was the first bookshelf, where nice thicker wasn't a comic book. It was, the spine was different.
I felt like sort of washing my hands twice, and putting on a nicer shirt. When that came out,
and it's also, whenever it comes to the context of Elseworlds, it's like, hey, we're going to put Batman 10 years after he retired. He's 50 years old. And he's going to come back, and the politics that Miller always does with Reagan,
Well, that's what it's kind of like specific to that time period.
Yeah,
too.
Dr. Ruth.
You have Reagan in it. It's very hard 80s. That sometimes if you read it now, it doesn't.
Well, I think that, and also if you read it then, you're reading it against the backdrop of your previous knowledge of comics being nothing like that till you get there. And now everything's been like that so long, you're kind of ready for things to lighten up. It's like,
I wouldn't say it's a time capsule, but it's definitely the impact of it was a whole lot more since then.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, like I said, The Dark Knight Returns is the reason why Batman is the way we know him today. Because before that, he was much more like the Adam West Batman.
Well, the thing about it, too, is somebody actually took just like Trixie never gets older out of her diaper and just things keep going on. Finally, someone took Bruce Wayne and aged him. Finally, saw an end point to what was going on. That had never really been done. I mean, nobody, it was just...
all the Elseworlds were based upon that.
Or is it,
I don't know. There was
Rustin
always
the whole
Elseworlds.
Time he was
Yeah.
In the 20 year, 15 years he was off, no rust appeared whatsoever.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
You know? Yeah. My knee hurts, but I can still put it over my head when I need to keep this guy in the face. You know? Yeah.
That's why I enjoy Batman Beyond
Like I'm
the
better.
show.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was cool because it was in that tradition, in that vein, and it showed a bitter old guy. Just a bitter old dude. It was really cool. It's figure. It's like I liked it. I mean, I like.
Yeah.
But I think
like
it's that build up that this is one of the greatest comic books ever, and then you read it, then again 30 some years down the road, it's not. I was expecting something mind blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as story
That
goes,
makes sense.
it's really good. I just hate the artwork in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it first came out, number 2, and he's all crouched up on the cover, you're like, "What is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
that?"
The
But
story
still
itself
bought it.
is great. The art.
How many times has that been aped and copied though?
Just a couple.
And what's the group in it? There's like
Not the punks.
the punks are mutants. Like I wanted to say mutants, but I know it wasn't that or
Yeah,
something.
the mutants.
Yeah, but there was and there was some knowing. When I read that again, it was later, much later than it was within the last 4 or 5 years really that I read that. And there were some things like we can just get rid of these guys altogether, and they're getting a little annoying here. Yeah.
But for the time though, that fit in.
Yeah.
Like
That's some of those things that
the
didn't
anti-establishment.
necessarily-
That whole thing. That thing fit in.
The story of a worn down guy coming back. Yeah, that's timeless.
Right.
There were some factors in it that were very 80s, and yes.
Oh,
for
yeah.
time.
When I was sitting there when you said it's 10 years after he retired and now he's 50, I'm like, so he retired at 40 because I'm 41, and I'm like, man, I feel like
You should retire.
I should. Well, I was leading to that 'cause
The
yesterday
time has come, George.
I spent 3 hours flipping through 2,800 comic books, and when I was done, I was like, man, I'm really winded. I need a drink. I was like tired.
Sacrifice.
Came out and saw a buddy of mine. He's like, what's wrong? I was like, I was at this house just digging through boxes of comics. He's like, so your fingers are tired? I was like,
Somebody's
no.
behind him with the towel like damn it's forever. Hey, give me a McDouble and a Dr. Pepper.
In that order.
He's like Homer climbing the mountain, and he looked up, and he's at 10 feet, and he's already going through all the oxygen tanks.
I mean, I've made jokes before about how you look like comic book guy, but come on.
Yeah. Well, I came in and I said, he said, you know what you look like in that car with the top down? I said, a Happy Meal toy? That's what my wife said in front of my friends once. But he said Bowser from Mario Kart. And I was like, hey, that's actually a step up from a Happy Meal toy.
I just hear come around.
But I
look at the
got
rear
to
view.
give a kudos to Happy Meal toy because that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, my car's parked in this little garage, which above it is an apartment. And the lady that lives there, she came out and she said, wow, that car's really loud. I said, I know, that's why I rolled it out of the garage before I started it, because, I don't want to wake you guys up or whatever. She's like, it kind of sounds like the space shuttle. Like, okay, well, next time you'll hear it right underneath your apartment.
What's it sound like now?
It'll sound like 2 space shuttles.
Yeah.
We need to post some pictures on the website.
We'll see you later.
Yeah. Big gulps, huh?
Big gulps, huh?
All right.
See you later.
So, did you guys read anything this week that came out that you, besides Superman 1000? I mean, anything you guys want to talk about?
Amazing $7.99, but I can't talk about it.
Next week, we'll definitely talk about Amazing $7.99.
It's on my stack to read. I'm saving it for a special day.
The stack. Well, hopefully that special day falls
422.
between now and...
Saving it for 422.
Am I allowed to talk about what I'm not allowed to talk about?
I,
Well, why would you ask that question?
I'm
intrigued.
Yeah. What does that mean?
The preview that I got, that I asked you about the other day?
Yeah, go ahead.
SpongeBob, free comic book. I got a chance to preview it.
Oh, yeah, you read it in the store, so...
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So did
Yeah,
I.
go ahead.
Spectacular artwork.
Yeah, the art's killer.
And it alludes to the Infinity War coming up.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd enjoy a SpongeBob. That's one of the best comic books I've read in a while.
Wow.
It was
This
funny.
is not the April Fool's episode, guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the real deal.
And folks, I have I appreciate that because it leads me right into the shameless plug before
Absolutely.
you talk any further on that. But Free Comic Book Day is Saturday, May the 5th. It'll be here from noon to 5. We're going to have a total of 1,400 comic books to hand
Geez,
out.
there's another double holiday. May the 4th be with you and May 5th comic.
Yeah,
That's right.
What's May for?
May
He's
the
just-
4th be with you.
She's like Penny on Big Bang Theory.
May
You sit around, smoke dope, and watch Star Wars.
That's exactly.
I don't.
You dope smoking Star Wars freaks. Don't blame this man because that's what you're into.
Harold's in the basement making music.
Doobie Vader.
But no,
There's way more weed references than
I think we've made total.
I think this will be the weed episode.
The 420.
I don't want to call anybody out, but I'm thinking this is the Chris influence. I don't.
Sorry.
But no,
There's no need to apologize.
Free Comic Book Day, May the 5th. Got a ton of books, and the one that you were talking about that you guys read here is a sneak preview. We have 50 copies, so of that particular book. So
I'll go out on a limb and say, just glancing over it, that was probably the one that stuck out the most. The cover's really cool.
Yeah.
But when I opened it up, Free Comic Book Day books are cool. Just they're free.
Yeah.
And there's some hit and miss. Some art, there's some like you're like, wow, and you get exposed to people maybe artists and or storytellers that you don't normally or wouldn't normally. But that SpongeBob, he's not kidding. The art and the whole thing, it
reminded me of
good.
Gene Colan from back in the 60s.
cool.
I mean, very detailed.
The color's amazing. I mean, it's just really cool.
Yeah,
I was impressed.
I was right by it without really looking, so I'll definitely go back to that. For me, it was Bongo Free for All. They had like a double thick Simpsons comic.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
And of course, the cool thing is free.
Yeah.
That's
And
the key word.
you know, and it's nothing against anyone, but if you go to Pittsburgh or Baltimore or DC or any of these big places where you go into a comic store, just the sheer volume of customers that they might have coming in the door, they'll say, well, you can pick any one book you want, or two, or three. And it's right on the retailer website for Diamond. They'll say, we advise that you limit that number to 5 books, per person, so you're not taken advantage of. And one of the little benefits of us living in this smaller area is I've never had to put a limit on anybody. If you're going to come in and there's, I think, 22 different titles or 25 different titles, if you're going to read them all, come get one of each. I mean, while supplies last. I'm only
Get 'em
open
while they're hot.
I'm here for 5 hours, and we've got 1,400 comic books to get rid of. So stop in and
Do the math.
Wonder Woman's going to be here. We have Wonder Woman stopping in. We're going to have some artist sketches.
As it points to me.
He's going to wear that shirt, too.
Tim was responsible for booking Wonder Woman. I guess I should.
Well, they can't see you point to me.
That
so-
puts the
He's the one that called you out.
We're
So.
lucky.
that puts the free in Free Comic.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got my
well-
costume one underneath, actually.
Yeah. And the thing
Captain
is,
America shirt is actually a decoy.
and I want to give hats off to Tim because he's a man of his word. He said he'd be here in the Wonder Woman costume. Unfortunately, I asked him on 420, and I think that's why he said okay.
He may even tie George up with the lariat.
I just might.
Speculation running rampant.
Yeah.
Now people are running
Yeah, and it's free.
Hell of an episode.
Thunders just went down.
I don't know where to go from there. So
That's going to be some weird fan artwork on the dark corner of the internet.
well, go ahead.
But Gary was talking about, kind of being not thinking he was going to find something like that in a SpongeBob comic. I heard you guys have mentioned them a couple times before, but like there's DC Hanna-Barbera crossovers and stuff. Yeah. That was something I'd heard about the Batman Elmer Fudd. So I pick it up and read it, and it might have been one of the better comics I've ever read.
Wow.
You got music to your commentary.
And we're all like, what?
Hit the sound.
My walk-up music.
Yeah.
Good recovery.
Sorry about that, people.
I was.
fabulous.
I was just surprised, at how he made it real world, almost type of characters in the comic. They weren't cartoon. Bugs Bunny was a guy, and Porky was a bar owner, and how he played that in and would have the kind of little puns in the background with stuff like that. I mean, I thought that was just
It was Lee Weeks, I think, doing the artwork.
Yes, I think it was. Yeah, Tom,
great artist.
Tom King, I think, wrote it. And
Yeah, and that's one of those things, Chris, where you're sitting there going, how are they going to pull this off?
Mm-hmm.
That's just because we read the Lobo.
Yeah, Kelly Jones.
So you're just sort of like, how in the world are they going to pull off Batman and Elmer Fudd?
I didn't think it would be, but I was disappointed by that.
Huh?
I was disappointed. As much as I like Kelly Jones, I was disappointed by his rendition of the Roadrunner.
I was a little let down. Even the story, I didn't think it was as good. Yeah,
I you know what? I'm not a Lobo guy either. Lobo just doesn't work for me. Lobo just seems like a rehash of I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go.
Yeah.
He's just not a character that works.
Well, you're either a fanboy or you're not a fanboy.
I wasn't a DC guy, and I always felt
I
like,
wanted to be a fan of Lobo.
like in the early '90s when I found out who Lobo was, and he immediately felt like a knockoff of like kind of a Wolverine kind of a flavor.
Yeah.
And
It's like a cosmic Conan. Only it's just
He's got the attitude.
inventing his own
and,
language that's stupid.
Cigar.
I'm over him.
Yeah, that sounds like a questionable bar I went into in Manhattan. Hey, you guys stopping at Cosmic Conan? They got $1 margaritas. It's going to be a good time.
I heard there's a guy dressed up like Wonder Woman now.
But only on 420. He's reevaluating his decisions on being here.
At any point in time when you think something's going off the rails,
Just
if
check
he
out
shake,
there.
he shakes his head, we got to like sort
Just
of
look for the evaluation.
The evaluation.
It's like he's got earpiece for us all. Yeah. Step it back, walk it back, fellas. Walk it
That's his new title, the evaluator. Was Dirty Gary for a while.
Pops Kramer.
One of those ironic nicknames, Dirty Gary. Yeah, it was
AKA the evaluator. That's
It's
why
cool.
we love
It's-
him, though.
No, it's cool.
He lost
Why
his
we love
razor
him?
for a while.
It's
Pretty
cool.
Pretty crazy.
Just don't put my name on it.
Speaking of trying to get back into the comic talk here, did you?
Oh, really?
Did you
We
read
can
Hulk?
do that?
Did you read Hulk this week? Did you read Hulk this week?
No, I haven't got a chance to.
Okay.
In case anybody thought that we spent
Glad we got back into it, you know, there.
We're that busy. We are that busy.
And back out of it.
In case anybody thinks we spent 10 seconds prepping this show.
I thought
All right.
I thought of you when I saw the cover though. I thought the cover was cool.
It was good.
The
Deodato,
cover that
yeah.
was really cool, man.
Honestly, I was surprised when I saw the cover because I assumed that's Bruce Banner in there. Like,
It's Amadeus Cho, I guess.
Yeah, it's Cho.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I thought,
He's
I can't
leading.
believe they haven't done this yet out of
He's
500
leading.
issues.
I didn't read it, but what happened to the Avengers? I mean, supposedly Hulk's back, or what's up? Anybody read it?
I didn't read it. Sorry. No. Once again, I have it.
This is a comic podcast, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. We
We sort of don't read everything.
Didn't read it.
You know what though, and I'll stand. I'll stand by this. There's a million podcasts out there where you can learn stuff, and you can be.
This ain't one.
Yeah, no.
Go
At the
get
end
a
of the
TED
day,
Talk if you want.
Let's make this perfectly
you
clear.
stuck up uppity SOB. No, that's weird in the middle of a podcast to explain and defend the podcast. But my favorite podcasts have always been the ones where it's like they're having a conversation, and then I get to listen to the conversation and almost feel like you're part of
You're
it.
there, yeah.
But when you like chime in, they don't pay attention to you, which is a lot of my real conversations too. So that's kind of where this is at, is us just goofing off and talking, and the numbers are going up. So if you don't like it, I guess
I guess if you're
Do
still
anything
listening,
else.
thanks.
Tim took it to a more positive direction.
And if you're not listening,
You know.
Thanks.
for those of you not listening out there,
Yeah. Anyway, Cho's losing his grip on the Hulk. The true Hulk's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess it's leading up to this immortal Hulk thing, and I'm okay with that. I'm all right with his life
And
choices.
doggone it, people like me. Good times.
Have you read anything about the Immortal Hulk?
I just saw the previews coming up.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I mean, I ordered it, but I don't know exactly.
I ordered it, but I don't know what it is.
It's a Hulk, though.
Yeah.
It'll be a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything they could do to make the Hulk so bad that you stop buying it? I mean,
No. Well, make it Amadeus Joe.
I was just
Right.
gonna say,
I
if you
didn't
survive
read
that, yeah,
But if
or
it's
whatever,
Bruce
that was
Banner-
it,
But since they came back into the Hulk numbering, but I didn't, and they include the Amadeus Joe under the Totally Awesome, which is so bad. That's such a bad title.
yeah.
Yeah,
Dude.
I didn't read
It sounds like a boardroom
Where's
committee
your
of
car?
people that were trying to somehow appeal to millennials. And
Yeah, but they're about a
teens.
decade behind.
Right. Oh, well, they always are, though, aren't they? It's like when the principal's standing up there, like, this is going to be a totally gnarly class of dudes.
He's going to have a faux hawk.
Yeah. No matter how cool they try to sound, they're Mr. Belding on Saved by the Bell. Like that's how you're going to sound.
Papa Squat over there.
What?
Papa Squat. Never heard that?
No. Is that a
Take a
name?
seat. Take a
Papa,
seat.
like Mama and
Take a
Papa
seat.
squat,
No.
or
That's what I thought it
was.
Pop
No.
a
Pop
squat?
a squat.
Yes.
Papa Squat. Take a
Sit
seat.
your ass down.
Papa
Never heard
squat.
that in my life.
Well, to be honest, until they killed the Hulk for the last 40 years, it's been
killed him?
really good. They
killed the Hulk?
Yeah. Yeah. Supposedly.
You know, Hawkeye.
Civil War. That crap. Civil
That
War 2.
crap. It's crap.
Not the first one. The first one's great. Did you guys read
Those like
Civil War?
carrots and throw up.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Civil War or Civil War II?
One.
Yeah, one's good.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
one's
Yeah.
I don't
awesome.
think anybody
Okay.
read Civil War 2, like the whole thing.
No, including all the customers that ordered a $5.99 cover price book, and then around issue 3 said, "I'm done." No, just keep it. But that means I have 8 of them. So no.
Do you guys? Because I don't. Do you guys blink when like the action? It was $7.99. Do you guys even blink when it's like that, or do you look at it and say, "Is this worth $7.99"? Do you guys?
Oh,
is the
Action
price
1000?
Yeah, I mean, excuse me.
For
Yeah.
something like that, like that was 1,000, the 1,000th issue type of thing.
Right.
It's just I didn't have a problem with it, but
Well, it had
some
10
of the
stories in it. I mean, it was
Yeah,
big,
But I mean,
Exactly.
books,
Yeah,
books
what the heck?
continually to climb.
some
up.
of the
It's
the Deadpool or the Spider-Man, I remember seeing were $8.99 or $9 or like $10 or something. No, I'm
Yeah,
not gonna, no, I'm not
Deadpool
gonna
really
do
did that. When the movie came out, then it was almost like 3 months to the day. Like they had just enough time to figure out a way to do it. They would come out with a regular issue. It wasn't even rounded off. It was like number 27, and Deadpool was $9.99 cover price. And you're like,
Was it a bunch of filler or what?
well, you open it and they
I
included the
never
whole.
knew because I wasn't going to read it.
Well, I would put them on here, and I had like 3 people that bought the book and were irritated by it. And when you open it, there's nothing extra about it that's Deadpool. What they did was they included a whole issue of Luke Cage and a whole issue of Daredevil. And it's the issues that came out the month before. So there are month-old copies of books that you can buy on the wall, and that was their argument. Well, for $9.99, you're basically talking $3.25. Those 2 books were $4 each. You're saving, but it's like, now you're making me buy 2 comic
But I
books
didn't buy 'em
that
the
I
first
turned
time.
down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you're not even giving me a deal. You're adding like a whole $1 to the price.
Yeah.
I could have gotten each of these separately.
That would have been
Yeah.
$5.99 or $6.99. Someone would have been, okay.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know this for a fact, but what I read online, and if it's online, it has to be true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that they had printed those pages,
Bonjour.
so they just put them in the book and said, well, what's the highest selling book that we can have absorb this and people will still get it, and that's what they threw it in, was Deadpool. But they
So
did
you
it.
guys are cool with $3.99 cover price.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is that all right?
as a retailer,
You kinda have to.
they can always bump it up. But, say as a retailer, they can always bump it up, but no.
I remember looking at one point and kind of and getting on one of those like inflation type of calculators.
Yeah.
And if you were to go back from I think I went to the first Action or whatever when it was 10 cents or a nickel. If you do the inflation, comics would be like $1.80 now type of thing.
Sure.
But when you think about those guys were making peanuts. The
Right.
writers and so if you know now that they're getting paid what they're worth when you think about other stuff.
Right.
Like, okay, yeah. Sometimes it's not the best value. When you're thinking spending $4 or $5, you can be done a comic in 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes if you're not paying attention to it.
But I can be done a double whopper in 2 minutes, and that's going to cost $6.
You also kind of need that to live, but let's not discount that part of
Or
it.
die by.
But
And hey, I'm not ridiculing comic fans because they're my bread and butter. But I've seen people that come in here, and I literally believe that the comics are the reason they live. So there's that too.
true.
I'm not gonna lie. I look forward to Wednesday.
Oh,
Oh, for
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah,
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
$3.99 for a book. I don't know. I think when DC did all the $2.99 books, and they still have a bunch that are $2.99, that feels like a deal. Partially because I think for the most part, DC does better stories than Marvel for the last years or two.
Yeah.
But
Must agree.
and it's cheaper. I mean,
Well, I'm not bothered by the price for the fact that a long time ago I decided just to go with comics where I don't do the action figures. I don't collect DVDs.
And you don't follow trends either.
Yeah, I
You buy
don't.
things
I
you
don't
like.
get baseball cards and stuff because I didn't want to be a jack of all trades. I just want to have one nice collection of one thing.
right.
So, to me and stuff, the price it keeps creeping up, but it's still reasonable.
Right.
And I get $3.99. I'll still have it in 2 weeks where you're a Whopper. Not so much.
Yeah,
You know what I
right.
mean?
No,
Hopefully
no.
it's not still with them too. Yeah.
Although,
You never know.
yeah, they made that angry Whopper with onion rings. Never again. Never again.
No bueno.
No, never again. Tell you something cool that Image does. Most of their books are $2.99.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then what they'll do is every one of their trade paperbacks that are the first volume of a title, they'll put the first 5 issues in there, and real nice paper, real nice piece, and it's $9.99. So I mean, you can get any of them. Saga. and
Funny you
Walking
mention that
Dead,
because I'm looking right over your head. That Matina cover for that Spawn still remains a very great read, and I will put that book up against any Marvel DC book. And the look, everything, the way it's made, the look, and it's $1 cheaper, and it's my favorite read actually right now. It has been for quite some time.
Saga and Outcast are both really, really good Image books. The Wicked and the Divine is a really good one. We have that. I just got another one I put up there. Oh, God Country. That book is awesome. And I mean, five issues, which were that particular book was $3.99 a piece. So you're talking $20. You get it for $9.99 to try it out. I think it's a genius move, and I think Marvel and DC both have combated that with the True Believers things and the DC Essentials, where you get an issue for $1.
That's because they did that Image First thing for a while. They did all those dollar issues out.
And those dollar books were cool.
I just heard recently that some of those True Believers are going for like $20-some bucks or $30. Like they apparently did some short runs of. They didn't print a ton of them.
Yeah,
and you know, a lot of people they got pretty popular because it had old stories like that. So I've actually
amazing and Venom stuff in there, so that's popular to begin with.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I knew that when Image does the Image Firsts, they redid Walking Dead #1, and it's $1. And we were selling a bunch of them, and then I'd reorder. They're on like the 8th print of that $1, and if you have the first print one, like it sells for like $15 or $16 a copy.
How about that?
Wow. That's genius for them to keep everything in print.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, from working in music retail, and I used to tell the customers, they'd be like, "Man, $20 for a CD," but I'm telling you, I'll give you $20 all day long if you give me Led Zeppelin 4, another one that's equivalent to that I'll listen for the rest of my life. Right. I'll definitely, and that's the way it is with comic books. In 2 months and 6 years and 15 years, also have those comic books. Yeah. I can go back and read them. So that $3.99 for me is coming back, and it's a great investment time-wise.
Sure. No, that's fair.
Well, there's a little bit. You'll hear the same thing with pricing with movies and video games. Or be like, some movie, you'd have paid 3 times that maybe to go see. Where other ones are like, no, I want my money back. Or a video game, they offer you different lengths of time, but they're all the same price.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas like, okay, well, if you can get away with charging a little bit more for that, do that for that one, and then reduce some of the other ones that aren't selling to maybe open that up a little bit more.
Right.
Having everything for the same price.
Well, in this day and age, Chris, I think you should not buy anything because the internet, you shouldn't be fooled by anything because the internet is full of reviews, pictures, previews of everything. So a lot of times I'll go and I'll see something in the previews, in Diamond's previews, and I'll go look at the artist and see what else he's done. Because they always had all you got to do is Google it and say, blah, 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 art, and then you bring up something, new artist coming up. So I know, like on the Doctor Strange or something, I know whether I'm going to go, and that's how I order. Yeah. But I'll do my research, and I think that's the way it is. You shouldn't buy a CD without being able to go on YouTube or somewhere, and Amazon or wherever, and iTunes, and preview it. And say, this isn't going where I want to.
At least get a little sample or something.
And, of course, the problem always was I spent $20 and I like one song on the album.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There should be no reason for that anymore.
Right.
Even to extent of comic books. You can't be guaranteed the story is going to be life-changing. But the art, and you can, maybe pick up something that writer has done before that. Mm-hmm. So, there's not a whole lot of excuses like, wow, I really got blindsided by this crap.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like I'm a big movie guy. I think we're probably more or less we all are on some level. I don't collect anything physical anymore. Like music and movies, I don't have physical copies of it anymore. It's all just digital. And, watch on my phone or watch it at the house or watch it on vacation or, whatever. But I don't have anything like in my hands for it. And it seems kind of counterintuitive to this place.
Well, we had that discussion with Austin. He reads a lot, and there are a lot of things that come up that you guys might mention, and you can go on a lot of websites and read for free, comic books.
Sure.
But I will actually go back, same as I will with music. I'll actually go back and buy it. If I like it that much, I'll go get a physical copy so I don't have to read it on the internet.
Right.
Wait for it to download and everything. I'm just not a fan of reading anything on the internet.
Even that was always kind of an argument we had years ago with the Napster stuff and everything. We're like, well, they're ripping it off, they're getting it for free. But there was other studies that kind of showed, but they're listening to it and then going out and buying it.
Widening the fan base.
Yeah, it's just like on the radio. Like you think, well, you got to buy this. Like, well, you play it on the radio, you hear it, then you want to go buy the album. Mm-hmm. It was almost the same type of thing there. Eventually, you had people that were taking advantage of it, but it also expanded, to people who hadn't and thought, I'm going to go out and just buy that, so I have it all the time.
There was this, like I got a bunch of my stuff, like TV and movies, all the shows that I own, most of it's through Amazon. So it's all just like in the cloud, I guess. And I had gotten this movie called you guys ever heard of a movie called Panic in the Year Zero?
No.
It's widely credited with it being the first like apocalyptic movie. Like crap's gone down, everybody's for themselves. The basic fall of civil society. It was like in the mid to late 50s, and it was my dad told me about it. I got it. It's shockingly dark for the time period. Like it's supposed to feel kind of innocent, but they tackle some really crazy stuff. Well, I got that movie. It was like I think $9. Downloaded it, and then when some studios changed hands, I don't know the details of it, but whatever legally happened, that movie got swept up in it. I got pulled from the shelves, and I went back to watch it, and it was no longer in my library, and I had a credit for $9 on my account 2 years after I bought the movie. It's like, so, I mean, that's the downside of that. Do you really own something digital if they have the right to? I mean, if I had that DVD, nobody was going to show up at my house and pluck it out of my collection.
Yeah.
You know?
That's,
So-
if
Walkie-talkies outside.
Well, it's kind of like
He's
when
moving
you're
for the kitchen now.
But who's to say that something crazy doesn't happen? There's some
Just made
huge
a bologna
bankruptcy
sandwich.
thing, and all of a
We
sudden,
did it.
every Marvel movie I bought is all of a sudden
Yeah.
now not owned by Disney. It's owned by, I don't know, Earl's Disney, and they take it all, and now I don't have anything. You know what I mean?
Who's Earl?
Exactly.
the most famous Disney.
That's the
you've
point of the
never-
whole
You
story.
ever heard of
Yeah.
Earl Disney?
Yeah.
Earl comes out of the ground.
That was the old.
Shout out, Earl.
That was the old.
Go, Texas
Tea.
That was the old Louis. That was the old Louis Anderson bit. He's like, my dad would take us to like amusement parks. He'd never take us to Disneyland. He'd take us to like Earl's Disneyland. Like he'd be like, I'm gonna go shave a couple bucks off that admission price. He'd come back 2 hours later, put these costumes on.
All right.
Yeah.
That being said,
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't be sitting here doing a podcast if we didn't buy comics. There wouldn't be comic book stores if you
No,
downloaded them.
there certainly wouldn't be this one.
it'd be kind of
You
awkward.
guys represent 85% of my business.
It would be more awkward than it already is. What are we here to talk about? I don't know.
Yeah. You smell those candles next door?
Didn't this used to be a bar?
It was.
Wow, really going down that-
It was.
Yeah. I'm old, all right? I know these things. Hey, you're talking about like physically owning movies and stuff like that. You know, when you were at the Lyceonium there, we did our rare movie podcast that no longer seemed to happen.
Or did now defunct podcast.
Yeah.
That I caught a shocking amount of shit for,
It's
by
so,
the way.
it's so old history. There's only 2 of them in existence.
So you covered every movie ever
Yeah.
made.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not
there
like
was
you
6
ran out.
movies. We did. We
Yeah.
hit 5 of them. What do you want?
Like whenever we put in the FF, and you're like, I can't believe we're sitting here and actually watching. I have to wait for the previews to, scroll through and look at the previews. And you're like, this is old school.
Yeah.
Not used to this DVD situation.
Yeah. Do they still do that? Like when you get a Blu-ray and they make you watch a trailer?
Yeah,
before,
you
like,
can't fast forward.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. My dad was up in the hospital. I went up there and was sat with him, and I was there for about 2 hours. The TV's on, and when I left, I wanted to murder someone. I was like, "There's a commercial on every 9 minutes." I haven't watched a commercial in more than a half a decade.
We don't watch commercials at our house, and that's why my wife has ruined 3 remotes over the past 12 years. She's worn out 3 remotes.
Really?
I don't know what commercials are. Commercial comes on, click, she turns it on something else.
Well, like you get Amazon and you get like Hulu, and Hulu does this thing where it's like, okay, there's going to be a commercial before your show and at the end of your show, and it's like, okay. And they said, oh, but for $3 a month, you can skip all
have
the
any.
commercials.
Yeah,
So-
Voodoo's the same way. Every 40 minutes or so, there's like a 2-minute commercial.
Yeah,
And it's for Voodoo.
yeah, like
like-
in house. It's like WWE.
But for all of
Network.
us that grew up before, TiVo and stuff, we're so used to. It's like scratches on records. It's like
The thing is, they're
Just
jack-
deal with it.
snap, crackle, pop.
Yeah,
But they're
It's
but they're
part of the
jacking it
ambiance.
up. I saw this thing where they said that if you watched an episode of Leave It to Beaver, there was 30 to 40 seconds of commercials in a 30-minute show, and now on TV they're making their shows 18 to 19 minutes for a 30-minute block. I mean, it's more than a third commercials, and I mean, it's a first world problem for sure. But
Yeah.
I couldn't stand it. I'm sitting there watching TV, and I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me? Like Walking Dead? How are you supposed to get on board with any of the suspense of
yeah.
this when they want a commercial?" So
It's so heavy.
we just do it the next day and get it on. Get it without any BS.
There's even some channels, I think TBS does it, for all their syndicated stuff, the Seinfelds and the Big Bang Theory, when they run them. They run that at like 15% faster or 20% faster. So they basically get like another 3 minutes or so to run the commercial.
Yeah, that's
and
really
I've
messed
seen,
up.
you can see it on YouTube, like bring it up where they'll have one playing in real time.
Yeah.
And within 30 seconds, there's a 4 or 5 second difference already. Yeah, you can see how it would add up over, and
they're speeding the action up.
It's speeding the tape up.
Yeah, you can hear it when there's music playing sometimes because it'll just sound like you'll hear it kind of speed up and go back because it's like one every so many clips gets So when there's music playing, especially if it's a real action music song, not the theme or something going on, you can pick it up sometimes after you've heard it.
And like you just said, though, there's no excuse in the world for buying something that you're not informed about on some level. That's my opinion. In this day and age, if you're sitting there watching commercial-filled syndication TV, you deserve every bit of that. You deserve it all.
So I'm lucky because I don't. Just click, click, click.
Right. Skip through.
That's one of the things that eventually could come down, like especially the bigger the big networks, Fox, NBC, and stuff. That's how they make their money.
Right.
Is showing commercials that we're supposed to be watching, and now we're not watching them anymore. Whether you either record it and fast forward it, or we get other things, Hulu and stuff. I guess you got deals through there, but it comes a point where like, look, if you don't watch these things, there might not be these shows to put on anymore, type of thing. It's one of those like
well, it's a positive part of fragmenting.
Catch-22 type of
fragmenting our entertainment. I mean, there used to be 10 titles, and now there's 600 titles a month. It's like everybody's on a different page. But like Hulu, you can watch any show other than CBS. You can watch any TV show that's out there. You just have to watch it the day after it comes on regular TV. Right. But you get to watch it with no commercials, and it's $23.
Which, when you're busy, is okay. If you TiVo it or something or whatever, stream it the next day.
Yeah.
Who cares unless it's some catastrophe that happened, someone dies or something like that.
But
everybody's talking about it.
But $23 a month. I mean, the last time I checked cable was like $100 and something, like $110 for cable. Like,
it's
never again.
It's pretty painful.
Yeah.
And not everybody has access. Not everybody has access to preview every comic book that has internet access, high speed. Not everyone does.
Sure.
And not everyone has TiVo and stuff, and so.
Well, don't you think there's something to be said too for being surprised every now and again? Because sometimes I think maybe too much research could result in I'm going to really like this, and man, wouldn't it have been cool to just I don't know. Sometimes I'd like to be able to just go to a movie and be pleasantly surprised. I think I said it before, but the last time that happened to me was Step Brothers. I had no intention of seeing it. Thought it was PG-13, and I hated Will Ferrell. We went to see something else. The movie that we went to see had already started, and I'm like, guess we'll go see this. And we just walked in. I hadn't seen anything about it, and I mean, it was laughing so hard I was crying. Dude.
Game over. Yeah.
Priceless.
Yeah. Jumanji was like that.
I agree.
Yeah, Jumanji was
the one with the Rock.
Really
the new one?
Good. Oh yeah,
I really enjoyed it too. I thought it was awesome.
I guess from the preview thing is I'm talking about the price. You shouldn't have to spend $4 or $5 or $8 for the new action. The biggest thing is you can come into a comic book shop, but if you order it for me, I'm going to take it.
Right.
But the price of $4 a shot, you shouldn't be surprised by a whole lot of it.
Right. No, I agree with that.
So same with you buy a CD, you should be able to preview, something about it.
Remember,
before you spend $10, $15.
Was it FYE at the time, or was it maybe Disc Jockey before that, where you'd go in and when an album was about ready to drop, you could put some headphones on and listen to 10 seconds.
Yeah, you had a little sample of each thing. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
that was cool.
What a time to be alive.
Hey, the first time I remember being allowed to go to the mall by myself.
When the mall had 2 music stores.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, the first time
I've worked for both of them.
First time I was allowed to go to the mall by myself, I was with my friends. I was probably 11 or 12 years old, and we walked through, and I walked into Camelot, and there was a man on a ladder wearing a Silver Surfer shirt, and it was this guy right here.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Sweet.
Yep, Camelot music. Down.
I used to come back and work Christmases. That was like a shindig and a half. It was like an episode of the Three Stooges most of the time.
Well, speaking of the Three Stooges, they're on the cover of the Overstreet Price Guide comic, which is a hugely great idea, I thought. For Free Comic Book Day, they have an Overstreet Price Guide comic, and in addition to kind of breaking down like the idea behind collecting and all that, and just some of the thoughts on that, then the back has a complete breakdown of grading from gem, 10 mint, all the way down to...
We don't talk about grading
scrap paper
on here. It's a lot of things we talk about. Grading's not one of them.
I got to do it on one level or another every day. Got to do it. You got to do it. Okay?
Do it now.
Do it. In the chopper, no less. Yeah.
Fine, Betty, fine.
Just
You're
when
gonna
you
buy it
thought
anyway.
we're going to talk about something,
I'm gonna grab you and put me
Yeah,
up like
yeah.
a doll on
It
the
just goes
ottoman.
into a
Just what he
spiral. Spiral.
Show you how strong Andre was.
Yeah, you're gonna put me on the
Spiral.
shelf like a doll.
Something's got Billy spooked.
Wow.
Back to grading. Yeah.
Grading.
Degrading.
Yeah.
It's a subjective thing, and I find it kind of intimidating, especially when I'm trying to grade something to put on like eBay, because
You
no
were
matter,
asking me the other day, and I'm like,
no matter what you put, somebody's gonna grade.
I'm going to throw something here, and George's like, I'm like, listen, like, what do you think? I'm like, if you're stressed out because I know you wanted to have a first impression, I would go with undergrading it. I go with the lower end of it, because then in most cases people will get it and think to themselves, well, I think it's a little bit better than that,
Right.
rather than the opposite.
And that's what I did, but at the same
And
time,
you
I'm like,
you were trying to rip them off
Yeah.
a little bit too, by overgrading it, like this ain't that. You're just trying to get me to pay for it.
yeah.
And that's the only reason why I like the CGC is because you have professionals do it and you pretty much accept their grade. Mm-hmm. But it's actually someone that's what their job is.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and you're looking at a book that, I mean, is worth at least the bother of sending in and spending $60 to get it graded in the first place. I'm doing a low grade auction. It's like, okay, this book in mint is worth $4, and in crap condition it's worth 50 cents. I don't know how much time I'm prepared to spend giving this book much more than, that's a 5. No, that's a 3.
Yeah.
No, that's a 5. That's a 6.
Right.
Whereas I find
well,
that
when you first opened, you had those, first Juggernaut and some of those really early X-Men that I graded and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was really tough on them. If they're 2.5 or 1.5, so be it.
Yeah.
But, it tells you and stuff. It breaks it down. And you have a little bit of leadway, for fine, good, poor. But it'll tell you the main thing.
It's pretty specific,
it's like,
though,
we're
when it
missing
gets to
something. We're soiled. It's not, the staple's missing. They go, no more than a quarter of an inch
Up to so many
chunk out of
tears,
it,
how wide or how long the tear could be and stuff like that. They get pretty specific in some of the lower grade. Like
I just get paranoid that somebody's going to come back and be like, well, this isn't what you said. Like,
The problem is in the center of the book. Sometimes there's like a torn page in the book.
One of my moves, one of my trademark moves is I'll put a book on there and I'll say, this book's a 3 because this happened on the back. If this hadn't happened, this book would be a 9.8 because it's freaking perfect. Other than this, and it's like,
well, that's cool too.
That gives you kind of the breakdown, and I don't know. I feel like I'll give leeway and kind of grade conservatively so that people feel better about it. Then all of a sudden, I'm throwing a book on there that is, you're talking about a $25 or $30 difference if I'm doing that same thing. It's like, no, this book is better than what I would.
And I think people do argue that if the front is pretty and the back is not, then that's a better book. And I don't know. To me, it's all the way around.
Yeah, I always kind of view
If it's
it.
professionally graded, they're going to look at that back cover.
Yeah.
If you're cool with, here's the thing too. If you're cool with it, I buy books. If I want the book, I'll look at it. I'm like, do I want it in that condition? That's up to me.
Sure.
And we've talked about with the Tim Lee's collection. Tim's cool with that, and I think that's great. It's sometimes it's just up to what you're willing to do.
Would you be more inclined to take a book, just any book that you really dig? If you would take a book that's basically perfect, other than the back cover on the bottom corner has a postage size stamped square completely torn from it. If that's the only problem on an otherwise near mint book, or get a book, that same book that's a 3, due to a bunch of other smaller defects.
Depends on what you're paying for.
Right. But all things being even,
you're paying for a 3. I'll give you the.
I don't forgive books like that if they're like newer, but I collect a lot of like old 50s horror.
Sure,
and stuff
sure.
Like that. There have been times when I'm like, okay, there's a coupon compromise here, it has nothing to do with the story, and they're selling the book dirt cheap because of that. Mm-hmm. And the cover looks nice, the interior pages are nice. A lot of times I'll go for that because I'm like, well, you know what? That just doesn't bum me that much because, first of all, most of those things I'm looking at I haven't seen this copy available for like a year. So it's like, oh man, somebody's selling this book,
or like store stamps, like
sale
dates
the old books. I love
that's
store stamps.
inevitable. Yeah, you can't. It's always better to not have a store stamp,
right?
But it doesn't take away from me at all.
Olga's
phone numbers.
store in Pittsburgh back in the 50s.
Well, I was thinking more like
I've taken a million of those.
Phone
stamps.
numbers,
She had
maybe
this
not.
huge
Phone numbers and
used,
stickers?
bookstore in Pittsburgh. Olga's used books, and I have a lot of them with that on.
But like newsstand stamps, like where they're like 10 cents or 12 cents or
some
the
people
date.
marked them with like pencils, like like those lumber pencils.
What about didn't you just say there was a Spidey 300 for 1100.
Yeah, I sold on.
I mean, what's it actually go for? 300 or 400?
About that, yeah.
Yeah.
5 is like if you're looking into the real high grade, it's 4 to 5 for like.
The last copy I sold online, I sold for $3.59, and I said that it was a 9.4, like just my opinion. And that was.
I mean, I know it's a hot book, so that compounds the price and stuff, but $1,100, nah, I ain't walking across the street for that. No way, no how. Not for a 9.8 because it's not a rare book in any way, shape, or form. Right. It was out whenever the collectors were going crazy.
It's not even a rare graded book anymore. I mean,
That's
it's
what I
one of
mean.
the most
Oh,
graded
you can
books.
buy 100 copies of 9.8 if you want to right now. You can find 100 copies of it. Easy. Well, it's like New Mutants 98, too.
Right.
That was hot. There's millions of those out there. Millions.
Right.
Yeah. But it's selling. I mean, it's selling for...
Well, yeah, because everybody
Graded.
wants. I mean, there's like a million people that want one.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah.
Because the movie's coming out in a couple months.
The craziest thing I saw was Deadpool's first appearance. Shortly after the movie came out, there was a 9.8 graded, and it sold on eBay for $2,100. It's like,
No,
what?
that's not that.
Yeah.
What?
It's also, I feel like sometimes, I guess, depending on the situation, it's better to not grade a comic because a lot of times when you get the CGC grading, it's all slabbed and everything. You know, to me, I'm like, I can't read that. I have to keep that in the thing.
Sure.
And, you know, part of the reason I want to buy it is because I also want to read it.
Right.
I know that might be like, you know, blasphemy to some people. You should never open stuff like that. Watch me.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, when you have it in that thing, it's like, oh, it's a 6 or a 7. It's like, oh, whatever. But whereas if you just have it on the shelf and you just look at it, it's like, oh, like you said, it's got that little thing on the back cover there. But otherwise, it looks like it's in great condition. You have that little, you know, that kind of, I guess, air of mystery, I guess I want to say, where it's just like, it still looks great, whatever, and I really want this, so I'll take it.
Well,
I think, Donnie, with those things is a lot of us have older books that are in beautiful shape.
Mm-hmm.
I have a real nice copy of Amazing Spider-Man 39, where he's you know, pulling him, you know, in the air and stuff, and he's unmasked and everything. It's just absolutely, it's a gorgeous book it's a gorgeous book to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm thinking it's above a 9, and just curiosity wants me to know what it actually goes for, what grade it is.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's much cooler just being unslabbed.
That's exactly how I feel about
being unslabbed.
well, and that goes to
That's
the...
exactly how I feel about my Spawn #1 that I have.
Right.
I'm like, the curiosity, I even brought it into you once.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think this would be great at? But I'm just kind of like, you know what? It's cooler just having it. Like, I have it framed and on my wall in my man cave, but other than that, like, I can easily take it out of that picture frame and just be like, and that's just cooler to me, you know?
I think it speaks to what's driving these prices, too, is there's so much outsider investors coming into this mix and driving those prices up. And I think that's a bubble like in the 90s that's going to pop. And,
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, you know what? For me, I kind of feel like it's a good thing. I'm ready for some of these cons to lose their asses because they're cash grabs. There's the Baltimore show is good. I don't think it was good this year as it was last year or the year before, but it was still really good.
Something crazy good this year.
That Pittsburgh show.
Steel
By the
City
way,
Con?
you didn't go to that thing. My buddy Doug went down. Went down there to get the album signed for his dad. They stood there all day long. Alice Cooper didn't show up on Saturday at all. Then he was there on Sunday. He was there for like 3 hours total. That the line was out the door, and not everybody got their stuff signed. So if there was any reservation about, man, maybe you should go there or shouldn't.
$50 got a poster signed by him and Rob Zombie. That's hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
So I guess I got lucky.
But he got down there. He said that there was a ton of
That's a shame.
the celebrities. He said that his brother went down Friday, and that none of the celebrities even came out until like 2:00 in the afternoon.
Wow.
And I mean, it's this entitlement of, well, my signature's worth $50 or $80, and standing there while you take a picture with your own damn phone is $80. That stuff needs to go. And once it crumbles and people that don't really care about this start to fall off, I think then they'll regroup, rebuild, and that's when they're going to come. That's when they're going to come apologize and want to get back together with me.
That's why I like.
She'll see when that football star is a big loser and treats her bad. Then he'll come back. He'll come crawling back.
That's why I like Baltimore Comic Con and Sci-Fi Valley Con in Altoona because they're more focused on like the vendors and stuff like that, which is like, yeah, that's way more fun to me. You know, the celebrities that are there, they're extra, not necessity.
I rode down to Hagerstown just for shits and giggles and got to talk to Ron Wilson for about a half hour. It was awesome. You know, and there was nobody there yet. He was setting up and I talked to him. He signed a couple books for me. Yeah. Talked about Jack Kirby. It was like a freaking wonderful conversation.
How many books do you think were there, like in terms of Could you walk around and look for back?
There were people vending other things there, but there was a couple of places that I've been to. There's a store in Winchester. It's a good. They brought their stuff up, and they had just acquired a really nice collection. They had the whole McFarlane Amazing Run there, 300 all the way. And they were all really super nice. They had a bunch of early Marvels, like they had the Mangog, they had the Thors, and that. It was one of the better tables I'd been to in a while, actually. And the luck have it, they just had bought a really nice collection.
Cool.
But there were probably I want to say 5 or 6 really good comic vendors there at the Hagerstown. They had some nice stuff.
Well, we've talked about it, 'cause
really
I think
nice stuff.
on the local commercials. There's that Awesome Con, whatever, Baltimore, whatever it was.
Oh, in DC, yeah.
Yeah, and there again, they're talking, all they're talking about on there. They didn't even mention comics. They mentioned about all the people from Arrow, which I've never seen. And there again, I'm not going to say something derogatory. I just don't care. I don't care about TV comic book shows. I could care less. Flash, could care less who these people are. I'm not into it. But I go for comics.
Yeah.
There
Well,
again, going back to the purists, I go to see comics. If I can get some of the comic books that I love signed by the people who did them, that's cool. But I think a couple years ago, Wizard took over, like Chicago, and all that. And all they talk about is the celebrities are going to be there, and I could care less. That's a whole other thing. That to me is not a comic book. It's comic book related, but it's not a comic.
Well,
it's not a
I went there.
Comic-Con.
I went to Awesome Con.
Entertainment Con or something.
But it's called Awesome Con, though. I mean, it's not a Comic Con
I went to
anymore.
Awesome Con to meet Greg Capullo, and it was a really great thing. And he was there with Snyder. It was really cool. And
They do have people, but they don't advertise. That's what I'm saying.
I got the Spawn sign. I'm happy. We had a great conversation. When I walked around, it was like the only comics they really had. There were specializing in what those guys were working on. So they had a lot of that in and around there. And there were a couple comic vendors, but there were millions of other vendors selling other, whatever, cosplay stuff or whatever relating to the genre. But there wasn't a lot of comic stuff there. There were some.
There's enough there to spend all my money. So
but not like Baltimore though. Which is exclusively, for the most part, comic.
They spread it out pretty, like at Baltimore, they spread it out pretty evenly amongst everything. The main focus is the comics.
But it's full tilt comic.
Yeah,
there are other things, but it's if you can't find a comic there,
you're in trouble.
Yeah,
you went to the wrong building.
Yeah, you got to talk like the rarest of rare. If you can't find it, it's not there.
Yeah. So I go to Baltimore Con last year. There was a guy doing the original art, selling the original art pages on the back wall. I said, "Do you have any Kelly Jones Batman stuff?" And he went, "No." Like, you idiots. No, of course we don't.
And you want to know something? Yeah, I saw some of those pages for under $100. Like when that was
the thing.
Doing that, yeah. Not a lot of them. There maybe 10 or 15 pages released, and you could have snapped one of those pages up for
Speaking of original art, did you see this stuff on Kyle Holtz's page?
Yeah, unbelievable
stuff.
Did you see Kelly Jones' response?
Yeah, it was killer.
Did you guys happen to see that?
Send it to me. So.
Yeah, he's like 4 or 5 preview pages of stuff that he did is just amazing, and he's like
stuff to be printed.
He's like, I'm trying to get Marvel's attention. And everyone's jumping on and saying, you shouldn't have to get Marvel's attention.
It's unbelievable stuff.
Kelly Jones is if you, what did he say? I was going to try to paraphrase it. If you would take away all the
dimension and mood and lighting and
if you take away all the good stuff,
sequential art,
then maybe they'll entertain hiring you again. Because right now, if you look around, you can see what they're putting out. Yeah. But
it was,
their styles are somewhat
parallel.
I think. There's a little bit of a akin to both.
Yeah, somebody said something about, this is Kelly Jones stuff, and he's like, oh, that's my brother, and he's like, yeah, we're Bernie Wrightson's sons.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, it's not too long ago. I just was somewhere and just posted. I said, it's so cool to live in a time where Kyle Holtz and Kelly Jones can be my Facebook friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And then within an hour, both of them loved it. I was just like, how awesome is that? That is good times. Well, guys, we've been talking for quite a while. About an hour and 15 minutes. Did anybody have anything they wanted to touch on or bring up on the way out?
Chris? Tell us we're wrong about something?
Everything.
He's like, this whole podcast is wrong.
This is the last time I'm going to be here.
First and last time.
I did find out that these guys retconned me into the last episode, actually. So officially, if you look at the Calling All Comics continuity, I was
That's
there
his
last
first
year.
appearance.
Yeah, I was actually there
His
last
first
time.
appearance
Yeah.
was last.
Yeah.
So it's like the Hulk 180.
Yeah.
We Hulk
Yeah.
180 you.
If you go back and listen to it, I'm not there, but going forward, I officially was.
There was some mention.
Yeah.
We renumbered.
Yeah.
You had a cameo.
Oh, that's
So it's
cool.
dual numbering for the podcast. as well.
Dual numbering.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. All right. Well, I got a new thing. I probably should have said this before we posted it, but when I say goodbye, you guys can say your own damn names.
Oh,
Why?
that's it. I'm not doing this ever again.
All right, fine. We'll start that next week. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm George, and I was joined today by Gary,
Which one?
Tim,
Yeah.
Donnie,
Hey.
Walls,
Hey.
and Chris.
Goodbye.
No one said goodbye except for Chris.
All right. We will see you guys next week. Thanks.